everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition of Grassroots Motorsports Live. I'm JG Pasterjack. This, oh boy, you are here on such a night. Right now, I'm standing in front of. I feel like I'm back in high school. This would so many fantasies will be fulfilled tonight because we have a fine selection of automobiles from the Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car, which hits Daytona tomorrow morning. We're actually competing in our Project Corvette. We've got some of our friends from the competition joining us here tonight to show you guys what some of the state of the art is in the ultimate street car world. And believe me, there is going to be some awesome stuff in this shop tonight. Here's what I want you guys to do tonight. Though, before we even start, go down, click the like button, click the share button. If you're watching over here on YouTube, I got you over here on YouTube. We are doing a YouTube subscriber drive. So if you do not subscribe to our YouTube channel, tonight would be a great night to do that because we're going to be giving away a prize to somebody who subscribes to our YouTube channel who comments on the video tonight. I'll let you know what that prize is as soon as maybe I'll be walking around and I'll find something awesome here tonight in the shop, and that'll be our prize. It's going to be awesome, and we're going to give it away to a new YouTube subscriber. So subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're watching it on Facebook, I invite you to share this to your social media friends, and we will have some fun tonight. Before we get started, let me remind you about the folks that make this show possible, talking about our friends from CRC Industries. On the web, crcindustries.com. Even better, in major retailers everywhere. We cleaned all of our screens, all of our camera lenses, my glasses before the show with some CRC electronics and screen cleaner. We use CRC Power Lube to make sure our Steadicam, Chris, give the Steadicam a little flex there. See, you don't hear a thing because the CRC Power Lube is working to its full potential. Also, check out our friends at Coney Shocks, coney-na.com for all of your shock absorber needs. All right, we got a lot of stuff to get to tonight. We got a bunch of cars. We're going to be here for a while. So strap in, draw your shutters tight, put the kids to bed, nail plywood over your door. Call the neighbor, tell them whatever sounds they hear not to come over because that's the kind of night it's going to be. And let's get started. We got let's start. Oh, look at you guys back here, already lined up. So we're talking to Valerie Pritchett, Mark Golovin, Golovin. Okay, and who are you? Tom. Yeah. Okay. So you're with her. So let's. Let's start with you guys and the GTA here. So back many years ago, back when I was cool in high school, I had a third gen Firebird, and I had a lot of good times in that car. And this is bringing back a lot of good memories for me. Tell me, we were talking about this before the show a little bit. I think these cars are kind of underappreciated right now.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely think they're underappreciated. To be honest, the aftermarket has really stepped up in probably the last 5 or 6 years to start producing a lot of better parts, so you can actually go out, buy the parts, and be more competitive with these cars than they were right off the factory showroom floor. It's just finding a nice one to start with is kind of a hard part.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about this. This is a GTA, which was a special edition Trans Am. You were telling me it was originally a hardtop car, which was a pretty rare beast back in the day. This one has T-tops, but they're fairly special T-tops.
Yeah, this car was actually built as a factory 350 automatic car, which was a hardtop, and they actually did a dealer conversion through Cars and Concepts and added a T-top. But not only is this a regular, a T-top, it actually pops up in the back like a sunroof. And I've seen exactly 3 sets of these going across the country and dealing with other third-gen owners.
All right, so walk us around a little bit. First off, I do not see many third-gen F-bodies that are this clean, that are this straight, that shine this nice, that have a door gap this even. Has this car ever been restored? Or
this is paint job number 3 that I'm aware of. When we bought the car, it looked original, it looked okay, but it turns out it had actually been really seriously damaged in the front. And so actually pretty much from the crash bar forward is all new. And again, it's been repainted 3 times. So it's been through a lot of work, but not necessarily a lot of body work. It was actually still fairly straight from the A-pillar back. So
And you guys are out in the desert, so this isn't rust is not really a worry.
Originally a California car based on the Carfax report when we bought it. We picked it up in Arizona 10 years ago, so it's been in the Southwest in a fairly dry environment its entire life, so not a lot of rust. Whoever owned it before us didn't know the jacking points very well because it has the typical crushed subframes on it, but no rust. So.
All right, so let's start inside and give us the quick laundry list. Now, I know you guys might be a little surprised that there's so much stuff inside these cars. These are street cars. You guys drove this thing here. Been on the road for several days. Take us through the interior a little bit. Any modifications? Anything to talk about in there?
The interior looks fairly stock. We do have an upgraded stereo system. We do have a custom roll cage from Finch. It's one of a kind, and I'm not sure he'll ever want to do another one. We added the Corvo CR1 seats, and obviously we went from being an automatic to a stick shift, so we had to change the console a little bit and do a few fun things. And we have a really nice steering wheel from Detroit Speed.
And how about underneath? Tell us about suspension. What it started out as a drag car, I think you mentioned.
It did start out, we were originally going to use it for a drag car, so it started out with a small block Chevy, and we actually put a nitrous kit on it, so the bottle mount is still in the trunk for that. Suspension-wise, we've been working with UMI Performance on the suspension, so we're running from the rear forward, their Watts link on the back. They've got a set of AFCO UMI coilovers that are valved for road racing, their lower control arms, their adjustable torque arm. At the front of the car, we have their road race K member, the lower A arms that are tubular, a set of double adjustable front struts that we had developed with them, working with AFCO again to get a road race valving on them for the adjustability we want for this type of racing versus drag racing. We're also running their front weight jacks on the car. So a lot of the parts on here were actually prototyped on this car. We beat them up on the track for about 2 years, and now everything is available in the catalog.
And when you say beat them up on the track, the mileage on this thing that from the track has been pretty impressive. Let's hop under the hood while we're doing that. Actually, yeah, while he's opening that up, Valerie, talk to us a little bit about just how much time this thing has spent on track.
Last year alone, we put almost 1,000 miles, just track miles, on the car. So the car generally leaves Phoenix it left a little late this year. We left March, and it won't be back until October.
Wow, that's and most of that is being driven to the track as well. It doesn't get trailered all the time.
We do trailer it because it doesn't go home. So it spends most of the year in the hotel parking lot somewhere, wherever I'm at work, because I travel 4 or 5 days a week for work anyway. So I keep the car with me in the trailer. And that's our mobile garage for it. I do all of the maintenance on it that way. All of the repairs, all the spare parts travel with us in the trailer. So it does go from event to event in a trailer, simply because we don't literally take it home for 7 months.
That's awesome. All right, so talk to me about what's under here. So this is an LS of some variety, and I think you were telling us it's about the 5th engine configuration that's been in here?
This is the 5th engine configuration for this car. It had a 350 TPI when we bought it. We went from the 350 TPI to another 350 TPI when we blew the rings out of the first one. We replaced that one after about a year with a high compression 383 that we left in the car for about 2 years, about 40,000 miles worth of driving on that one. And we literally ran that one until we did a coast-to-coast road trip with it that involved a stop at LS Fest in Bowling Green. So at that point, we were spectators and decided, well, we have an LS on an engine stand in the garage. It's time to finish the swap. So the next engine it had was a stock cube LS1 that had been built for drag racing with a gapped for 300 shot of nitrous. And it lasted about 8 months before we took out rod bearing number 5, had the bottom of the oil pan covered in glitter, and we couldn't find most of bearing number 5 when we tore the motor down. This is the replacement for that. This is going into year 4 on this motor without touching anything. It's a 418 stroker LS3 block from Texas Speed. We assembled it in the garage the rest of the way for heads cam intake. So it's the GM CNC ported LS3 heads, factory LS3 intake with our painter did a nice job on that. 50-pound injectors, Illuminati baby cam. It's just a 227, 239.
But you were telling us close to 500 horsepower at the wheel.
About 500 horsepower at the rear wheels out of it.
And I love that there's some neat details in here. So this is something we spotted earlier, and this tells you a lot about the state of the art in 80s GM chassis technology. This is actually a brace that braces the front of the master cylinder, because if this isn't here, when you nail the brakes hard, there's so much firewall flex that it actually picks up the
pedal and the brakes don't hit. Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to move on. Let's go on from a 3rd gen to a 4th gen. Tom, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Valerie, thank you very, very much for bringing it out here. It's going to be an honor to share the track with you guys tomorrow. Let's move on to Generation 4. Welcome, Mark. And so you already have your board over here. So you're gonna be our victim. Go grab your board here. Okay. So one of the peculiar parts of the competition of the Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car is the design and engineering phase. And that's where competitors have 2 minutes to essentially tell the judges the story of their car. It's a judged portion of the competition. And I'm going to give Mark, somebody start a 2-minute clock for me here. We're going to let you do a dry run on your pitch tomorrow. So somebody, Mills, you got to stopwatch. Okay, ready? Mark, 2 minutes. Go for it.
Ding. This is Black Betty, a 2001 Z28, former Camaro Performers magazine project car. Travis did the original artwork. The custom stripe is one of a kind. These are the car unstickered, which rarely happens anymore. The biggest components of this car that's brought Black Betty back to the future is Heights independent rear suspension. That also has a Pro G IFS and the Pro G IRS. See how it's tricky?
And I haven't seen the first card trick yet either. So
okay, let's slow it down. So here's a tip for those who haven't done D&E yet. Put it in sequence, and I need to get louder in real life and on TV. So let's kneel down a little bit. First is paint. We talked about graphics. So the stripe is custom. It's Harley paint. The body exterior, the hood this is a Z28 car, so the hood looks like a SS, but it's not factory. The tail is also RK Sport. Both of those are RK Sport. The headlights and turn signals have been shared to a clear, not the factory style any longer. The engine currently is an LS3 with a custom machine performance CMP cam. It puts over 500 horse, over 500 torque to the wheels. The rear end is a Fab 9 center section, but again, it's independent rear suspension, first of its kind at the 800 horsepower mark. The air intake and cold air exhaust system is got a K&N air filter, also Spectre sponsored. Holley 90mm throttle body, JBA long tube headers, MagnaFlow custom suspension, which you can see here on the picture, and you can see the IRS better.
How are we doing on time? 30 seconds. Okay.
Talked about IRS. The inside, we got Corbeau seats, and there's also time you could ask more. There's electronics, iPod, altimeter gauges. The coolest thing about this car is it does have a theme. It does have a theme song. Who doesn't know Oh Black Betty, Bam Lam? The car continues to evolve. You can follow it on Facebook. I'm trying to keep people updated. Black Betty 2001 Z28.
All right, nice job. So we put you on the spot there, but that's going to be part of the competition. Is D&E tomorrow or is it on Saturday? Yeah, so I'm running in the outlaw class. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, but you guys do, and this to get up and tell the story of your car to a judge. There's no audience; it's just a judge who is there, maybe giving you feedback and maybe not, is pretty intimidating. How long have you run this series with the car?
I started pro touring type of event in 2010. That was actually Midwest Muscle Car Challenge. That introduced me to FM3, which turned into the Ultimate Street Car Association, which puts on Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car. It's been 7 years now, 8 years that I've been trying to get to Invitational. I made it in 16. I made it in 17. Last year, I had many challenges and 3 catastrophic failures where I had to take my silver car, Silver Sally, a convertible Ford Chen, to Pikes Peak. So I wasn't able to point in. Again, something you want to watch on the rules. Has to be the same car and driver to get to the Invitational. Either way, Optima's Ultimate Street Car will take you to iconic tracks like Daytona, so we get to play where the big boys play. It's awesome.
All right, let's start under the hood of this thing, because we're looking at another LS3 variant here, which seems to be sort of the magic formula. Now, these were really good chassis. One of the knocks against these cars, though, is you cannot work on the engine when it's in there. But with a modern LS, hopefully you don't really have to. Have you had to go in there after anything?
Like I said, last year I had 3 catastrophic events. This is the 4th time this motor's been in and out. Formerly had a 416 in it. And again, it's the small parts. So make sure you got your valve train good. My trunnion upgrade failed. My lifter failed. Small parts can ruin a big deal. So I went quick fix with a CMP cam LS3 500. Not as big as Dragon Lady, but we still hang pretty close to each other. Turn 1 pump, I should have mentioned them. We can go over more sponsors as we go.
All right, let's hop inside here. Take a look, Chris. You might want to come around back of the lift here. These were actually fairly nice cars to spend some time in. How much street use does this thing still see?
Well, this car is an actual real street car. I know a lot of people say it's license plate race cars, but Nick Licata of Camaro Performers that built this car on the magazine, you can see all those online too, and Stephen Rupp that came up with this theme, who's now on Super Chevy magazine, and Nick Licata's in Chevy High Performance currently, now that Camaro Performers is defunct. But it was sold to Rob McGaffin, and he drove it from L.A. to many national parks all the way to his home in Madison before I attained the car less than a year later. So this car has been driven coast to coast. By me, it's been to New Jersey. It's been to NOLA. It's been to Road America. Now I'm in Florida. I trailer it now. Most of the time it was driven to races.
So have you ever run Daytona before?
No, first time here at Daytona. I'm super excited.
Oh, wow. So being my home track, we're 2 exits away, as we like to say, because it's the truth. I've got lots of time here. So it's still exciting for me, though. I can only imagine what it's like for you. What are you sort of most nervous about being on that track, or most excited about being on that track for the first time?
Well, as soon as you go through the tunnel and you look to your right and you see the second most steep banking, second only to Talladega, it's pretty intimidating. So tomorrow's track day is a little nerve-wracking, but it's going to be a good time. All
right, guys, thank you very, very much. We can get the next group in here. Valerie, Mark, Tom, thanks very much for bringing these F-bodies out. It really takes me back. We are getting things arranged for the next group. Thank you. Bye. All right, we got another group coming in here. Meantime, I will take a look up here. So Chris over on YouTube wants to know if Outlaw Class requires 200 tread wear tires. Yeah, everything at the Optima Ultimate Street Car Challenge, even if it's in an Outlaw Class or not, still has to be a licensed and registered street-driven car. So you do need a full DOT tire, 200 tread wear or better. So the kind of things you see in Outlaw tend to be cars with a little more aero to them, cars that have maybe had a little more of the interior removed. If you had, for example, an SCCA, like a legal SCCA cam car, you might not be able to be competitive in a regular Optima class because of some of the aero, because of some of the interior removal. So Outlaw might be a better fit for you. But our Corvette is an Outlaw. There's also a C6 with a rear-mounted turbo and like 900 horsepower. So it's a fairly extreme class. Nice job on the transition. Yes, Katie, what?
Oh, no, I was going to go get a board.
Okay. We got our next pair coming in, so I will take a moment to tell you guys about a couple things. Actually, let me go grab something here. Our friend Mills Robinson pulling in. This, ladies and gentlemen, is 1 gallon of CRC brake clean. You can check them out online at crcindustries.com. Katie wants to know where I got this. I got this by going to crcindustries.com or to a major retailer near you. I'm going to give 1 gallon. It's very heavy, actually. I'm going to give 1 gallon of brake clean to somebody on YouTube before the next show. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to our YouTube channel. Even if you're watching on Facebook tonight, go hit our YouTube channel, subscribe, and leave a comment either in the live broadcast or on this video. Once it appears there, I'll just pull somebody at random who is a subscriber to our YouTube page. We'll contact you, and you will get a gallon of CRC brake clean. Wow! Nice job, guys, on the transition, and perfectly timed with the crossover there. I'm gonna see if we. I probably missed some questions, but I don't care. All right, we got Mills Robinson and John Woods over here. Now, here's what's special about this lineup. We've got a 1970 Firebird Trans Am, 67 or 68? 1967 Rally Sport Chevy Camaro. Both these cars not only competing in the Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car this weekend, also coming to VIR in a couple months for the Tire Rack Ultimate Track Car Challenge, the Grassroots Motorsports UTCC, happening at VIR in just a few weeks. What's our UTCC website, Tom? Ultimate Track Car Challenge. I should know that. UltimateTrackCarChallenge.com. You get more info on that. Ultimate Track Car Challenge be taking place in just a few weeks at VIR, and also Hyperfest will be going on that same weekend. And tickets are available for the Grassroots Motorsports Experience at Hyperfest. Mills, let's start with you, man, because you have graced the pages of Grassroots Motorsports before. We've seen you at a bunch of events. And I know the story behind this car. Is it? Yeah. So tell us the very brief story, but behind this Camaro.
Well, I've had the car since 1983. I drove this car to high school, drove to prom, drove to college, packed my bags full of, can get it in this car and drove.
How did it do for you at prom?
I can't tell on TV. No, there's stories, but my wife is over there, so. So, yeah, I drove it to college, came home from college, got a job, still drove the car, daily driver, had kids, parked it, got corporate, parked it for a while, and kids grew up. I finished paying child support. Here I am. That's child support right there.
So at what point did you decide, okay, I'm going to take this car that I've had forever and I'm going to turn it into a track car, turn it into a race car? Was this an ongoing evolution?
Not really. The Pro Touring market was still coming along, and I decided that I want to put disc brakes in the rear. And I came across a Corvette IRS, and it had disc brakes on it and already had a posi. I'm like, well, I could just put that in there. I won't have to do much work. And I put that in there, and I said, well, I need a Corvette front end, and then turn into a Corvette motor, and then turn into a Corvette spindle. And it's just, now it's Corvette.
Yeah. So let's take a look at some of this stuff. Let me grab my where'd my light go? Because there's some cool stuff underneath this thing.
There we go.
So, Chris, you can get a pretty good.
You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, let me put this down so I can stick the mic in your face here. Yeah, let's start with motor here, because everybody a lot of LS power so far tonight.
Yeah, it's LS2 block. It's 010 over. It's stroker, so it's 404 cubic inch. LS3 top end with Lingenfelter ported heads, 421 heads on it. Just a stock LS3 intake. It's 540, 550 at the wheels, depending on the dyno. That's at the wheels. That's without the little laughing gas you see there in the front. It's another 150 shots. So legitimately, it's 700 horsepower to wheels if I need it.
And I see some very familiar control arms down there. That you weren't kidding. That is a Corvette suspension under there.
Yeah, it's C5 upper and lower control arms. But the unique part about it is I got C7 knuckles and C7 bearings and brakes on this car.
Chris, can you get
and that. Yeah, show the brand new QA1 mod shocks I have on here. These things are awesome. They're double adjustable, obviously, but you can revalve these shocks without taking them off the car. And the way I have them mounted, I can actually adjust them from under the hood. And the shocks for the rear are actually in the trunk on a cantilever system.
So I see what looks like a lot of carbon here. Is this actual? Is that an applique or is that real carbon?
Doesn't sound like carbon, does it?
It's very metallic carbon.
Yeah, it's metallic twang to it. But yeah, it looks like the part. So
talk to us, but that's kind of
it's
that's
part of
the
D&E.
game.
Part of guy, you got to play the game is D&E. Yeah, these fenders are actually massaged. They're not stock. I had to open them up and cut them to make them fit with my A-frame to make it look like natural.
So I've driven a couple old Camaros, and they drive like surprisingly modern cars with this much horsepower and that sophisticated of a suspension. What is this thing got to be like to drive?
You've been around VIR, right? Yeah. The last time I went around, it was 204.
That's moving pretty good. Let's take a look inside here real quick.
This thing is still
Whoa.
I know it kills me for D&E, but I think it's pretty cool that this thing still has the 50-year-old door panels in it. So I leave them in there. Not much, bells and whistles. I got, odometer gauges in there and so forth. Does what it needs to do. Big tack right in my face where I need to. NRG steering wheel comes off.
So this is
It's got a dog box in it. Most people don't realize this. They think I got a supercharger, but this thing whines like a supercharger, but it's really a transmission, NASCAR dog box.
so this being the search for the ultimate street car. How much time does this thing spend on the street anymore?
You'd be surprised. Cars and Coffee. My sponsors got an event. I'll take it out to whatever. Can I give a shout out to my sponsors?
Absolutely.
Let me talk to my local guys who helped me out a whole bunch. I got Rent-A-Lift. These guys are awesome. It's a self-service garage. If you need help, they got a mechanic to help you. I got Waddell and Company. This guy's decals, Soundwave Customs. Back Bay Brewing, the best sponsor in the world, because when the track goes cold, everybody knows to come to Mills' tent to get beer. And then I got Improved Racing on the car. I got a spec clutch in it, power stop brakes, and QA1. Can't forget QA1. Absolutely. Right there.
All right, Mills, thank you very much. We'll see you at VR in a few weeks. John, let's move over to you because this thing, we were talking in the tech line earlier, and you're telling me this 1970 Trans Am is a very, very analog automobile. We've seen a lot of fuel injection systems so far. We got a big honking carburetor under the hood of this thing.
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer, for a living. So every day I'm in front of a computer. I didn't want any computer technology on this car. So yeah, it is analog. I mean, down to the manual brake system, 100%. Now it does have an MSD ignition. I guess that's electronic, but other than that, it's old school.
So what are we looking at engine-wise here for this thing?
So the engine was built by Johnny Thomas up in Dawsonville, Georgia. And he worked with the Elliott racing team, Bill Elliott, NASCAR days. And it was really cool. You go up to Dawsonville, Georgia, and I cruised out down this dirt road into the woods. And there's a machine shop from 1970 out there. And an older guy, Johnny's a little older. He's been around. And I was like, Johnny, build me an engine. He's like, I got you. I told him what I was doing. And he came up with this. It's a 414 small block. So it's basically a small block stretched, to its limit with a Dart little M block, 620 horsepower, 580 torque, and it's a beast. It's fun to drive.
So one of the neatest things about this car you were showing me earlier is the fender flares, which are very they're very subtle, but come on over here. You've actually sort of sectioned and flared the entire fender. Kind of show us where that all happened.
Right. So last year in Optima, we were running a 275 tire. So on a second-gen F-body, a 275 is about the limit that you can get on there. So I went to a 315, and I had serious rubbing problems. And if you look down here, you'll notice how it slants out a little bit. See how it's bulged here? Instead of, notching the frame and moving everything in and decreasing the track width, I wanted to keep everything out. And so we actually cut all the fenders in half and put a jack under here and stretched it out and then re-welded metal back in there. And it's hard to tell that was done, but it was done on the front and the rear to make 315s clear.
And these are original 1970 Trans Am fenders.
The fenders I found in a guy's backyard in Decatur, Georgia. The 1970 Trans Am hood I found in New York. The front valance I found on Craigslist in Seattle. It's original 1970 GM Trans Am. Wow. Yeah. And now it's a Firebird with Trans Am parts, which is pretty easy to do that conversion.
All right, take us inside here because you did a little bit of work in here too. I like the cage, the way you've sort of integrated that. it looks like a very well prepped race car inside, actually, that still has some room to drive on the street once in a while.
Yeah, it's completely street legal, and the main idea with this car was safety, because we're approaching speeds of 150, 160 miles an hour on the Optima road course segment of the event, and so the cage and a fire system, that was number one, and safety was the main idea. That's original, Trans Am dash, Trans Am center console. So a lot of original Trans Am parts in there, door panels.
So Mills was telling us his car does 204s at VIR. You've got a little bit of a special connection to Mills. He was your first driving instructor in this, it sounds like.
Yeah. So was it 5 or 6 years ago? I went to VIR for a HPD event, and I was like, look, I need an instructor that can drive a muscle car, a hot rod. And Mills hopped in the car, and then so yeah, he was my first instructor. And then what was our first event at Charlotte, the Optima? Yeah.
You got to bring this car out to Optima, and it'd be perfect for it. You came to Charlotte for that.
So he trained me, and now we're competing, and so that's kind of cool. And what's also cool is we've both won the Ultimate Track Car Challenge, and so this year is the first year we're competing against each other in the Ultimate Track Car Challenge. So it's a cool story.
Awesome. Well, we're honored to have you there. So yeah, we get over here. Well, we'll get these guys ready to go out while we're doing that. Give us your shout outs tonight.
So a lot of people have helped, like Acquire Tech in Alpharetta, Georgia. It's a technology solutions provider. They've helped out with gas, with tires. Ron Sutton, Race Technology. Man, I've spent countless hours on the phone with Ron. Like, how do I do this? What are the right angles? How does this fit? And Ron's helped out a lot. Speed Tech Performance, right on the rear fender there. Blake, Jay, those guys are awesome. I email them like, hey, I'm getting a little wheel hop. How do I fix that? They're like, remove your shim. You don't need a shim in there. And they're on it. And what's cool, they were at the Invitational in Vegas. And they came out there. They're like, use our trailer, anything you need. They're taking tire temps when we come off track. And so a lot of people are involved in getting one of these cars to do what we do in them. And, I appreciate it.
And you have an awesome band too, so you can't let you out of here without mentioning that.
Thank you. I can't believe I almost forgot that. So I got to give a shout out to the Last Chance Riders. Come check this out. So on the front of the car, you'll see the Last Chance Riders logo down here right on the nose, and that's kind of an offshoot of the 1970 Trans Am logo. And so Last Chance Riders, love you guys, rock and roll.
Awesome. And maybe we'll slip some of that in for bumper music here in a future show. All right, Mills, John, you are released. Thank you very much. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks for bringing these awesome machines out for us to take a look. And we will get the next group in here while I will go check. So Mills was actually posting from elsewhere in the garage while John was up there talking. Yes, big honking carburetor for the win. See if we have any questions that we missed. Mills has a nice diffuser built in the back of that Camaro. Actually, goes quite a bit forward. Has some real aero for that. All right, we got a couple more cars coming in. In the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about our friends from Coney Shocks. Folks, do you have a Miata? Do you have a Porsche 911? Do you have a BMW M3 or a 335 IS or a 318 IS or a BRZ or an FRS or nearly any other fun-to-drive car or not fun-to-drive cars or a bridge or a train or anything that needs vibration damping? Call Coney, coney-na.com. They can get you shock absorbers for it. Great company, great people, great technology. Check them out on the web, coney-na.com, or at a major retailer of high-performance parts near you. All right, we got, it's the C7 gang rolling in. Yeah. So, got a couple questions to get caught up on. Ed on Facebook saying good noises tonight. Yes, that is exactly the kind of noises that are being made in here tonight. Ramey wants to know, what do you think of Sam Strano competing in Optima Ultimate Street Car? Yeah, it was great to see Sam today. Sam is a great guy. He is an asset to our sport. And we're very glad to have him at competing in any facet of this sport, especially when he's stepping out of normal. Sam's an SCCA guy. Great to see him competing in other venues as well, and great to have a lot of crossover in all the cool stuff we do. All right, we got a couple of C7s in here now. Well, Barry, you're standing right next to me, so let's talk to you. We met for the first time, Barry Luderick, everybody, at Time Trial Nationals. Yes. just a few months ago. This is a C7 Grand Sport, very very fast car. This is not your first time on track. You have been a racer for quite a few years. Tell us a little bit about how you kind of developed into this habit here.
So my dad's a mechanical engineer, so the interest obviously stems from him, and he had me in go-karts for a few years when I was little, and then when I got old enough, we started autocrossing Corvettes. When I was 10 years old, I remember like the C5Rs coming out, and so I've always been like a big Corvette guy. And then we went SCCA road racing for a little bit, and we were pretty successful with that. And then was ready to step away, and we found the series where you have to build a car that looks really good, it functions on the street, and you can go to the track with it. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I want in on that. You
were a Formula 500 guy for a while too, weren't you? Yeah. Oh, my man. So how did there's an F-Mod car sitting right out back here, so I'm cool too. But how does that compare to this? I mean, I know it's all contact patches and traction management, but as you're working your way into different cars, how much are you taking from one to the other?
So the basics of being smooth and weight transfer is always there and consistent. The biggest difference is so this car, and my dad runs a ZR1, and he's letting me track that up at Road America, and that's our home track. We're within, from the Formula 500, which has maybe 160 horsepower, the ZR1 is actually a second and a half slower than a car that you can go buy online for like $10,000. And a lot of that is going to be in like the race compound, and then the late braking and the high cornering loads, because we do have a little bit of aero help there that we don't have on the Grand Sport and quite like the ZR1. But then you get down to the straightaways, and we're doing 171 in both this car and the ZR1 in turn one at Road America, and we're only doing 140 in a Formula 500 car, so
a little more top end here. So this is a C7 Grand Sport. Let's start under the hood because you have it pop there. One of the things we're seeing with these is out of the box, these are fantastic cars. Yeah. You don't need to do much to it. So when you got a few mods here, but how did you approach modifying something like this that is pretty darn good to begin with?
So my approach was pretty simple. Knew we wanted a Corvette, wasn't sure of the heat soak we were hearing. It's a problem here, and it's not a problem. So the Grand Sport seemed like a real good, reliable source to start. We actually bought the car last May, and within 5 days had it on track at NCM for Optima Ultimate Street Car. And in that 5 days, I managed to drive it from Iowa to Texas to LG Motorsports. Started with like headers, exhaust, intake, tune, easy stuff like that. And we were getting walked down the straightaway by like everybody. This is the only place in the world where you show up with like 600 horsepower and you get walked everywhere you go, and you're just like, oh well, that's not gonna work. So we called K-Tech, kind of sending back to like the C5R days and the C6R because they built their motor. So I was like, hey, let's put a K-Tech 427 in it because the soft spot, the C6 Z06 with the 427. So it's an LT1 based 427 custom dry sump. So anything that the air touches or the oil touches after it's through the air filter is not stock until you get to the NPP mufflers because it is a street car. The car's less than a year old, and I've got 9,800 miles on it already. I drive it every chance I get. That's half the reason we bought the car. The other half was to go on a racetrack. So,
Stock LS6. I do not want to hear about getting walked this weekend. I am going to be waving you guys by like crazy. But coming up, driving a bunch of different stuff that handles really well and is very, very responsive. How do you find this car as a driver and as a track car?
So from a standpoint of like turn-in and drivability, it's fantastic. I've driven a few other supercharged cars, and the turn-in's just not quite as good. So the Grand Sport is just a little bit balanced track car, and we are so like in the autocross, I think we'll do really well tomorrow because we don't have a supercharger sitting up there. Then when we get onto the big track, I'm going to be wishing I had a supercharger, I guess. But the turn-in's really good. It's like 200 pounds lighter, so it's really nice and nimble and stock, and it's great.
All right, well, since you were dissing superchargers, let's get Dave Thomas over here, who brought his ZR1 in. Last minute fill in. Welcome to the shop here. So tell us a little bit about this thing. My only experience with ZR1 so far is having taken my stock C5 Z06 to a Corvette Club event and comparing data with a guy with a showroom factory fresh ZR1. And he was going about 30 miles an hour faster down the straightaways, 140 versus 170 with a 755 horsepower car off of the showroom floor. How did this seem like a great idea for a track car?
This is Plan B. I have a 16 Z06. It's making just a little under 1,000 horsepower. We're doing an engine refresh and just couldn't get it back together in time for this event. So this is my daily, and I like running with these guys. I like being here for my sponsors, Fire Aid, Power Stop Brakes, just great people to work with, all the people associated with the Optima. I've been drag racing for 40 years, so I've been around this stuff for a long time.
So you're no stranger to horsepower.
I've never encountered another group like this. There's a ton of camaraderie with it. If something happens to your car, you got a dozen guys over there helping you to fix it right off the bat. We all want to try and help each other improve, get better, because really the bottom line is if you're out on the road course, autocross, whatever, at the end of the day, well, if the guy beside you is having kind of a bad day, his car's not really performing, not too much glory in that kill. So we all like to, kind of keep the bar as high as we can. And
take us under the hood of this thing real quick, because there is a lot of glory under there, and I want to show everybody what they can walk into a Chevy dealership and walk away with these days. So let's take a quick peek under the skirts here. This is a fairly impressive sight for modern times. You can't really see much, but that is a 755 horsepower supercharged engine that you can walk into a Chevy dealership and buy for less than any European supercar, less than any German supercar. It's got a full GM factory warranty. And you said this is your daily driver?
Yes, it's our daily driver.
And how much track time does it see, or do you normally drive the Z and this just comes out?
This is just the cruiser here. Yeah, the Z06 is usually our battle car, but like you said, it does have 755 horsepower, and it's kind of cool. Seeing the Trans Am a minute ago kind of made me think, because I'm really a Trans Am guy too from way back. And when I saw this, and they've got the engine cover mounted to it, it's the kind of reminiscent of the Shakers, So it's just a really fun car. You can goes over 200 miles an hour. Mid-10s in the quarter, and it's just the magnetic ride, the suspension this thing has. You have so many different settings. You can set it for different stiffness, or you can set it for different experience levels for the driver. So your average guy or lady can come out with a vehicle like this and just have a great time.
So what? Come on out from behind the post there. What's your approach going to be like for Daytona tomorrow? Because obviously this is a car that is probably capable of doing 170, 175 miles an hour, maybe 180 down the back straight. So what's your approach to a track like that in a car with 3-point seat belts and that you have to drive back up?
Sneak up on it. Yeah, because like the guy said in the movie, tires is what wins a race. Well, in this group, tires is the big equalizer for everybody, because we all have to run on street tires with at least a 200 tread wear, and you've got guys in the little Miatas that don't weigh anything that go like mad on the autocross, up to these big high horsepower vehicles. When we've got some good straightaways to take advantage of the brute torque.
All right. Anybody need to thank before we get out of here? I know everybody is very generous as far as supporting their sponsors. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we get?
Absolutely. Fire Aid. It's a fire service solution. The little cans come like this. It's a very family oriented owned business. Nobody ever thinks fire is going to happen to them. I've lost 2 cars to car fires. Okay, just put Fire Aid in any search engine. Watch a couple of the videos there. You'll never even consider a quote traditional fire extinguisher again. Mean Street Motorsports has always helped us out real good with the tires, because we have a tendency to go through a good bit of tires in this particular. And Power Stop Brakes has been awesome. Moody Blue Designs, they do special wraps, custom graphics, things like that. So a lot of really good people.
Awesome, man. Thanks for bringing it out. Barry, how about you, man? Anybody you got to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just Signature Wheels, because they've helped us out a lot, and then also In Chains Designs has given us some numbers, and we're going to work on our graphics package later, so we're pretty excited about that. So it will not going to give it away, but it'll look a little different here in a little while.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you out there. I will totally give you a point by, so don't worry about that. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll get our next group in here, and big hand for these 2 guys. We'll get caught up on any questions. So we had some folks asking about any open space at any Optima events this year. It's a fairly full dance card for Optima this year. I think most of the events going forward are sold out, but you can check out their website, driveoptima.com, and you'll be able to get information about any spots still open for any of their upcoming events. And it is a fantastic weekend. This is going to be my 2nd or 3rd Optima event that I've run, and it's world-class tracks, fantastic autocross course design, amazing cars, great people, really cool events, and there's no coursework. It's basically just showing up and being a rock star for the weekend, and that's pretty darn cool. All right, final pairing coming in. So Rob wants to know what type of cars run in this kind of event. So there is a lot of big horsepower stuff, but there are a few different classes, and there are some. In fact, what we're about to see is some of the more creative approaches to some of the cars we have at these events. You're starting to get a lot more imports. There's a couple of Nissan GTRs entered, a couple of Porsche GT3s and GT2 RSs are entering this event, and you also get stuff like turbo Miatas, K-series Miatas, engine swapped Honda S2000s, more stock S2000s. Part of the competition is an autocross, and you might not need a ton of horsepower to compete when you're only in 2nd gear. A Miata can run down a ZR1 Corvette. Now on a road course, might be a little bit easier for that ZR1 to get away a little bit, but there is definitely a place for all sorts of cars to compete. The only real rules are the car's got to be street legal, street licensed. You got to show up to a registration with your insurance card, your driver's license, registration for the car. There is a street drive that is part of the of the competition. There's about a 100-mile loop that you'll drive during the weekend. It's a fantastic parade of amazing cars. So this is our most interesting sounding car of the evening. Awesome. All right, so we will start with Franklin Watson over here. 1968 Ford F100 pickup truck, and I know that calling it a pickup truck is a little bit generous because there has been a lot of modification to this thing. But boy, I don't even know where to start with this thing because this talking to you earlier, this sounds like such a labor of love for you. Tell us a little bit about how you were sort of drawn into this autocross world with this thing.
Yeah, well, I did my first autocross. I kind of built the truck the first time to compete in autocross and got a lot of laughs, but I was just more determined to, do it. And so I did my first event. I probably failed horribly, but I was determined to get better. I met a lot of great people along the way, and this thing has spun out of control. I mean, spun out of control. This last build was a complete rebuild, entirely new truck, and I did it in 5 months. I mean, it was my full-time job, and it's grown very fast.
So, did you set out to build a truck? Was this a truck that you had? What was the origin of this thing?
I had a truck like this when I got married 26 years ago. But no, it was just something unusual. You've seen some Chevrolet C10s, but you did not see any F100s competing in autocross. I thought there was a market for it, and I talked to everybody I could to get them, hey, make parts for this thing. And their response to me was, well, make it grow. And that's kind of what I've done.
Let's take a look in the back here because we can actually get a really, really good good view of what's underneath here. Oh, you're right.
Here, I can just raise it.
Okay.
Here, let's just raise it.
Okay.
Like I said, this is 5 months, so I haven't done everything I would like to do.
This is a lot of stuff in 5 months, dude. You should let me grab my my light here, Chris, so we can see a little better back here. Hang on, man. Got the mic over here. So yeah, this is a completely refurbished chassis under here.
It's not just refurbished; it was
replaced.
This truck. Rob McGregor made this from No Limit Engineering, and we tested this thing. It simulated a 2 G-force turn, and the chassis flexed 1.22 degrees, which is incredible. Quick change rear end. QA1 mod shocks. I mean, everything's top of the line. The heat exchanger for the supercharger. I put this bed cover on here because I got tired of people saying, why did you mount your radiator in the bed? And I'm like, it's not a radiator. So then I had to explain it with Jason Eder of the Department of Boost. We talked about it, and he said, put NACA ducts on the side of it. And I mounted it, and he said, you got to mount it different. It's got to have more airspace. So that's what we done. Rob McGregor, I had a Mustang tank right here originally, and Rob McGregor, we tried to get the weight in the center of the truck to get it about. I'm really curious to see what it weighs. But my handiwork in here, it was real quick. I didn't do it as nice as I would have liked to, but it was just a matter of getting it done. But the chassis was so pretty. It was a focal point, and I decided to paint it clear. And I used a product on it. It's clear paint, basically. It's not just clear coat. It's actually clear paint. So it is one of a kind.
All right, let's head up front because you said the magic word supercharger, and that intrigued me. So let's take a look under the hood here. No, it's a street car, man. So that is pretty. That's a lot of positive displacement there. Tell us what we're looking at here.
So originally, I had a Department of Boost, which is a small company that makes a super great product, a very reliable supercharger, and I think I'm about to get a bigger intake manifold. So it had a GT500 takeoff supercharger, M122. And Jason Eder said if I built a forged bottom end, which I did, all the best stuff, that he would supply me with that TVS Gen 2R. And so we don't have a good tune. We've had issues with it reading the O2s, and it made 496 horsepower to the tires. Most speed shop tuned it. So I think we got a boost bypass valve issue. So we're looking at about 700 horsepower.
Yeah. All right. So you designed this thing to put a lot of the weight in the center. Still a lot of metal there, but we're going to do something cool now. We're going to actually put this on the scale. So while we go over here and talk to Karen for a few minutes, I will, Tom, why don't you get him set up for the scales. We're going to play a little quick lightning round of What's It Weigh, presented by our friends at Intercomp. So we don't even know this one yet. So if you want to start putting your guesses for what Franklin's 1968 Ford F100 weighs, although there's not much 1968 Ford F100 left in there, we will do closest to the pin without going over is going to win a fantastic GRM prize pack, and I'll let these guys get it up on the lift. Meanwhile, where'd Karen go? Yes. Come on over and say hi. So this was the quietest car that rolled in here tonight. Karen, welcome to Daytona. This is a Tesla Model X that is no stranger to the track. Tell us a little bit about how much time has this thing actually spent competing.
Well, first of all, would you like to see under the hood?
I would love to see under the frunk of your Model X here. There's even an Optima battery.
Actually, when we do D&E, I got to tour the Tesla factory, and they gave me some really great pointers for D&E. And we can actually take this out so that they can see the inner workings of the car and also see the dual motors down underneath.
So, did you set out to compete in a Tesla? Did you have a Tesla and realize, oh my God, this thing is fairly capable? I want to do some stuff.
Do I look like I even should be in this? I mean, first of all, I love my husband so much, and so I have been his pit crew, logistics, food, whatever for 30 years. 38 if you count our dating. He wants credit for that. But so last year we had been in this for probably about 5 years, and we enjoyed it so much. Like he said, the people are awesome. But then one of the staff said, you know all about it. You know exactly where you're supposed to be. You help us grid sometimes. You volunteer. So why don't you do it too? And I went, okay. And then I thought, but I'm an engineer mind. And I thought, what do we not have a lot of? Well, how can I help build the series? And we only had one electric car at the time. And so I went, well, if we're going to go with electric, we're going to go with the best. And I contacted Tesla, and a month later, I had the car.
So here's something that we're seeing this year all of a sudden in the SCCA is a Tesla won a Pro Solo out on the West Coast last week. Tesla finished on the podium at the first Solo National Tour of the year just a few weeks ago. People now know to take these cars very, very seriously. It's not the lightest car in the world, but all the weight's down low. It's a good handling. What is this thing like to drive, actually?
Well, as David's car, right off the showroom floor with 722 horsepower and almost 1,000 torque. So take that to the drag strip. And so I did exactly that. Now remember, they've got a lot of seat time. I don't. But I've learned and watched along the way. When you go to the drag strip, we're actually there, and I don't have to put new tires on. I don't have to put racing fuel in. I pull up from the office, put my helmet on with my suit and my heels, and there I go. And they're like, how did you do that? And it's just so much fun because I don't have to do a thing but show up.
And what's quarter mile like on this thing?
Let's just say I run 8th, 7 flat.
Wow, that is movement. So one of the questions that everybody has about Teslas in competition is the fact that so much of the maintenance of these cars is done through downloads of data from the Tesla mothership. Are you in touch with the engineers? Do they know you're competing with this? Are they sort of logging your data and keeping track of what's going on with you?
Well, first of all, I really like the fact that this is bring your car, bring what you drive. This is my daily driver. So I'm working more so right now on seat time, being a better driver, because Jimmy Day will tell you all day long that the best driver can take the worst car and win. So I'm really working on that right now instead of making a lot of changes. I have made some changes for D&E, but I'm really waiting on the Roadster.
So is one of those you're queued up for already?
Let's just say yes.
All right, we got to see the door. Do we have room for the for the door over here? Chris, get it. Oh my God, that's so cool. Is it going to do stuff?
We don't have it in quite as far as we want to. Now we have upgraded the tires for this weekend.
Oh, look at that.
And then when you go backwards, it stays right where you put it, or goes back where it was. And we will do the dance for you, because everybody wants to see the dance. That'll be the last little bit. And so the other thing that we've done is I do have some other harnesses for the, and there it goes. Anyway, I'll keep talking while I'm...
I have to follow you around here. I'm not going to make it through there. I'll meet you on the other side. I'm not going to make it through there either. But, oh my God, what is going to... So...
You can sit in it. It is just unbelievable. Push the button. There you go.
I don't know how to get into a car.
So, and then you can look here and see the screen is just huge. But I can change the suspension. We can go very low or up. We can do driving, chill, sport, ludicrous. But this is our latest update. And that's the Ludicrous Plus.
And that's just an update that was sent to you via satellite?
When you buy the car, everything in the future when you have the car is downloaded. Any increases that they do, you don't have to go buy another car. They do all of this. They send that to you. It's just phenomenal.
So what's it been like? Now, could we actually watch the show on this?
No,
oh, damn it. Okay.
Outside.
Okay.
You're gonna see it in a second.
So what's this been like as a track car, as a competition car? Has it been fairly reliable?
Absolutely. And I have to depend on I have to depend on actually being able to drive it and then get home and compete.
Okay. I think crazy stuff's about to happen. So, but after this is done doing its thing, we're going to drop Franklin's F100 down on the scales. Oh, come on. So, all right, Franklin, you're up next. Does your truck do any of that stuff? Okay. Oh God! So the screen says it was all just a dream. Yeah. I am officially old and have no idea what's going on anymore. That was the most ridiculous and wonderful thing that I've seen in a long time. Karen, before we let you go, and before we get Franklin's car down on the scale here, by the way, we're going to weigh this F100 here in just a few minutes in a little segment we like to call What's It Weigh, presented by the folks at Intercomp. And we'll drop it down onto our Intercomp wireless scales. If you guess the weight to the closest amount without going over, you will win a fabulous prize from the GRM prize stash. So before we let you go, go plug away. Yeah.
What it weighs compared to this too, because see, we're going to be competing. So.
Oh, really?
Mm.
So who do you have to thank? Who do you have to give a shout out to here?
I can't say enough about Fire Aid. That's exactly how we got started in this as well, because the first thing in the rules says you have to have a fire extinguisher beside the when you're fueling. And we knew from having 2 car fires that, I don't mean this the wrong way, but fire extinguishers don't work. I mean, they're either in the wrong place, they're too heavy, they're too cumbersome, they're just not available. And if it's not available, it's not going to put the fire out quickly. So I saw NHRA, and I mean, they've done a lot of research, and they found Fire Aid. Fire Aid is wonderful. They're actually made in Fayetteville, Georgia. It's a USA brand. And I called them, and I said, well, what, do you do any sponsorships, anything like that? No, but you've got to come and find out about us, and then we'll find out about you. From there, it was amazing what we've learned, the Ronnie Thames Foundation and what they do for burned children, and all of the things that they do for the hospitals is unbelievable. Then they send their firefighters. They have a competition. They send the winners to New York. And we actually got to accompany the firefighters. Makes you think a whole lot more about fire safety and what you need to do.
Well, thanks for bringing this thing out. I cannot wait to see it on track tomorrow. The Model 3s that I've seen on track have been just immensely impressive.
Give you a hint. Speed stop.
Yeah, there all kinds of traction off the line, and no worries about being in the right gear or the wrong gear for the turnaround.
No oil leaks. 1 tow hook because I don't go off track.
All right, Karen Thomas, thank you very much for coming out tonight. Let's get this thing down. Tom, are you back there? Ready to lower our F100? So we're going to lower Franklin's F100 down onto the Intercomp wireless scales. We will see the final weight here in just a moment. I see guesses coming in, 3480, 3222, 3350 over on YouTube. What do we got on Facebook coming in for our guesses? Get those last-minute guesses in for What's It Weigh, presented by Intercomp on this Ford F100. All right, dropper. I mean, not drop it, but it would gently lower it down onto the Intercomp wireless scales. Here we go, folks. The springs are settling. The weight's coming up. The arms are out from under. Franklin, any guesses from you, the owner? So Franklin says 35. You're low. What do we got over on YouTube? 3480, 32, 3150. Last call. I got the weight right here. It is 3,000. Anybody? 3,600. Oh, wow. Yep. And 99 pounds. 36.99. It is actually. Come take a look at these. At the weight distribution, though, because it's pretty impressive. Throw a little plug in here for the Intercomp wireless scales. We can actually select two. Right side weight, 50.09%. So very, very well balanced right to left. And front weight, only 57% of the weight on the front for a front engine truck. Not bad, but a really, really well balanced left to right truck. So with this information now, what do you any thoughts on moving forward now, Franklin?
Oh, that's all I do is move forward. I mean, you can't go back. You got to go forward, drive.
All right, I have no better way to end it than that. Just drive. So at $36.99, we'll figure out who won, and send us a message, and we'll get you a prize pack. huge thanks to everybody that brought these amazing cars out tonight. I cannot wait to be on track with some of these folks tomorrow. If you are anywhere in or near the Daytona Beach area, come out to the track. It's free to get in on Friday. It'll cost you $20 to get in on Saturday. But if you go in on Friday, it's also free on Saturday to see some of these amazing vehicles. And if the Optima Series is coming anywhere near you this year, I invite you to check it out, and also check it out on MAV TV when all the events are broadcast. Folks, that is another edition of Grassroots Motorsports Live, presented by CRC Industries. I'm JG Pasterjack. Thank you very much to all the folks that were here tonight. We had a huge crew here tonight. Chris working the camera, Tom getting all these cars staged, our friend Race shooting some B-roll over here, Katie over working running the boards, David on social media, and Kevin making doing whatever he's doing over there. He's been shaking hands and doing his job. And thank you to our friends at he's been getting cars lined up. This has been a fairly logistically complex show, and I appreciate all of these drivers coming out tonight and putting up with this and getting everything cycled through so quick. This was very cool. Please check out our friends at CRC Industries, crcindustries.com on the web. Even better, at a major retailer near you, if you need brake cleaner, if you need spray lube, if you need carb cleaner, if you need fuel injection cleaner. You know the difference between carb cleaner and fuel injection cleaner? Anybody? Yes. One is plastic safe. Fuel injection cleaner is plastic safe. Carb cleaner is not. So next time you're buying a CRC product, buy the right stuff. crcindustries.com on the web, at a major retailer near you, even better. Also, check out our friends at Coney Shocks, coney-na.com. Ultimate Track Car Challenge coming up in just a few weeks. UltimateTrackCarChallenge.com for more information about that. Hyperfest, hyper-fest.com for information about Hyperfest. Text 31996, text GRM Live to 319. Katie's doing rodeo clown over here trying to get me to wrap it up. I got a mic in my hand. I'm not wrapping this up anytime soon. Folks, that is it. We'll see you again next Wednesday, regular at night and time. I'm JG Pasterjack. Good night, everybody.